Welcome to Physicians Keepers. Each episode features honest conversations with physicians, sharing moments that shaped them, challenged them, or taught them something worth passing on. These stories come from every corner of a physician's life: the clinic, OR, family, finances, mental health, leadership, and personal growth. If a story can help another doctor feel seen or strengthened, it belongs here. It's about honesty, courage, and community true storytelling. If you are looking for connection or a reminder that you are not alone in navigating this profession, you are in the right place. Hello and welcome to another episode of Physicians Keepers. I'm so excited to have you here today. If you are watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, thank you for joining us today. We have another amazing conversation with Dr. Josya. I'm so excited to have her here. She's done amazing things in the sphere that she is, and I just can't wait to dig into her journey because that's what we do on Physicians Keepers. We hear the story behind the physician, how they got to where they are, kind of the challenges, and just something that would inspire another physician. So, Dr. Josya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Ali. This is so fun.
Yes, I'm just going to quickly give your bio and then we're going to kind of delve into kind of who you are and what you do and your journey, just as a physician to where you are now, how you are serving the women that you speak to. So, Dr. Josya is a board certified family medicine physician. So, hey, hey, family medicine.
Yay.
And she's a hospitalist based in Miami, Florida. She has over 15 years of medical experience, and she also operates as a wellness, love, and a dating coach for professional women. Outside of clinical medicine, she runs a Get Ready for Love program, holds various wellness and leadership sessions for female founders and entrepreneurs. So you are quite the busy physician, Dr. Jossia.
Yes, I am. So kind of thank you. I mean, it's just amazing, like it's like we said kind of before we recorded that I didn't submit a bio. I was really excited to say, what did you come up with here? And yeah, that's me in a very nut of a nutshell. I'm so much
Yes.
more. So yeah, family medicine, I call it the best kept secret in terms of specialties. Like we
Yes,
learned
yes.
everything, cradle to the grave. We can deliver babies. We can, you know, if old school we want to, we can do basic appendectomy. Such an
Yes.
awesome, I think it's an awesome specialty to be in, and it allows for the diversity of what I do now, right?
Yeah.
So being able to be working in the hospital, working in telemedicine, having had experience outpatient, I've worked in academics. Like my first job out of training was as a professor, so it's kind of cool that I've worn all these different hats along my career. And that's just the, like I said, the beauty of our specialty, that we can be so versatile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that
Yeah,
is
so
amazing. Now you've been before the before medicine, before you were known as Dr. Jossia, um what was that like for you? Was family medicine something that you always wanted to do, or did was it one of those things where you did a bunch of things and you were like, okay, this is where I merge, this is where I click, this is what works for me.
that's a great question. So I was one of those kids ever since I was 5. I wanted to be a doctor, had the doctor's kit. Sometimes I think my parents wanted it for me, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize there was pressure because I was already going with the current, if you so to speak. Being
Yeah.
first generation Haitian American, I'm the oldest of four. There's actually an interesting study about how eldest daughters, or a lot of women physicians, tend to be eldest daughters or something like that.
I'm an eldest
So
daughter, so I can totally relate.
see, right? We
Yeah.
naturally already were in a position to give advice and tell people what to
Yeah.
do, being told we're bossy in school and all of that, right?
Absolutely. Looking
So,
after others, taking care of others.
yes,
Yes.
all of that. So Josia before medical school knew she wanted to go into medical school, knew she wanted to be a doctor. Josie was full of ego. At that time, she was like, well, there are so many other things in medicine,
Yeah.
but I don't, again, being the eldest daughter, I don't want someone to tell me what to do. I'm used to
Yeah.
telling people what to do. So I couldn't see, for me at the time, and I've since grown and matured and realized we all have a part in healthcare. But at the
Yeah.
time, I was like, I couldn't do, quote, anything less, right? So medicine was the path for me. But at the same time, I enjoyed music. I played the trombone. I played piano was my first instrument. So I was into music. Um, definitely was that, like I said, being the oldest. And then in terms of family medicine as a specialty, my first thought going into medical school is that I was going to become a pediatrician. I really looked up
Okay.
to a doctor in my community. He was a Haitian doctor. He was a generalist. He wasn't a
Yeah.
pediatrician, but everybody came to him. Even if they had their own insured doctor, they always went in for second opinions, widely respected. And I was like, I'm going to be the next Dr. Jerome. That was my thought.
Yeah.
Realized I love kids. All my stuff before was like after school programs, tutoring, Sabbath school teacher at my church. Always kids. I always loved working with kids. And I guess that's part of being the older sister, right? So I
Yeah.
thought I was going to be a pediatrician. I was going to go to a certain college, go to a certain hospital for residency, be a pediatrician in Philly. And I grew up in Philly. None of that happened. I did do medical school in Philadelphia. That's where I'm originally
Yeah.
from. But as I went through rotations, I had a top three at the time. Pediatrics, because that's what I came in with. Then psychiatry, because my undergrad is in psychology. And then the third one, I believe, was surgery. Because when I did anatomy lab, I was like, oh, this is cool. We get to cut stuff up and I get to be a badass. And
Yeah.
yeah. Then we get into third year of rotations. Psychiatry wasn't how I envisioned the practice. And at that time, actually, right after my rotation, the earthquake happened in Haiti. And I knew for myself, I wanted a skill set that could actually help people in missions. And I was like,
Yeah.
telling someone to sit on my, I had this picture in my head, sitting in a pile of rubble, telling someone to sit on my couch and talk about their problems. I felt like it wasn't enough. That was me then. So psychiatry was crossed
Yeah.
off the list despite finishing rotations at 2 p.m. Then pediatrics, no, then surgery rotation happened. Thought it was really fun. Finished the rotation, came down to Miami at the time. I live in Miami now. It's funny how life works. I just came on vacation at that time. I slept the whole trip because I was sleep deprived. But I still enjoyed surgery, but I don't think surgery enjoyed me. I didn't do well on the
Yeah.
shelf, the rotation. I was not trying to get up at 4 a.m. like the other gunners were doing.
Yeah.
Um, Now we're in the holidays. Now we're in the spring of, the next year rotations. Pediatrics happened, and I couldn't stand the parents. I was like, okay, now what? I was like, I don't
So
know what to do with you. Why are you
yeah.
so demanding? Of course,
You're
now as a mom,
like,
I get
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were actually, yeah, I get it now that I'm a mom, but at that time I
Yeah.
was like, okay, there goes all three of them. Now what? Did OB, hated it. Literally at that time, the thought of delivering baby just turned my stomach. I was so like, there's certain things in medicine make you go, oh, oh. That,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was me. Funny story. I loved OB in residency to the point I even thought about doing OB fellowship. But that's just,
Mm.
again, maturity over time. Did internal medicine. It was cool. So now we're at the end of the year and I end with family medicine. It was cool because the doctor had a Mercedes Benz and so did his wife. It was like a private practice. I was like, oh, you can do family and not be poor?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
poverty? But it was a funny rotation. Everybody and their mom got EKGs. Like, and yeah, he had a stress test treadmill set up in the office. This man was about, from a business standpoint,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should have went back and took more notes, right? But I got to give that whole story because when it came now, we're in fourth year. I was going to do surgery pathway because we had pathways in our school.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, when it came time to that wake up 3 a.m., I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I did a needs assessment online. Like, what are things I'm interested in? And people like me, what specialties do they go into? So they go into family medicine, they go into emergency medicine. I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay. Never thought about that. So I actually applied to two residencies. And I did not know where I ended up on match day, but I kid you not, maybe a day before match day, maybe the night before, I was like, I think I'll be okay in family medicine. Like I don't want to get burnt out,
Yeah.
the stress of
Yeah.
the ER and all of that. So I ended up matching in family.
Oh,
That was it.
wow. Such an amazing journey. And I could totally see my journey also mirroring yours at certain points. Because I initially, I loved kids, so I was like, everyone's like, you're going to be a pediatrician, because kids just gravitate towards you. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Until, like you said, you do the rotation and you realize that one, sick kids are different from healthy kids. And then majority of the time, you're not dealing with the kids, you are dealing with the parents. So then it was like, I don't know. And then OB was another one that I thought, okay, this will work great. And my dad is an OB doctor, so I was like, oh, I can totally see myself doing this. I think for me, what killed OB was my rotation. I think the OB docs that I came across, and this is not an assault on any OB doc at all, but the ones that I was kind of surrounded with, it's like they lost their joy. I don't know if it's the 5
Mm.
a.m. showing up, like there was just something about the the atmosphere was once you it doesn't matter the type of person you are, you may be happy, jovial, whatever, but once you come into OB at that place, you become a meanie, and I could see that in them. And then it's like you kind of evaluate, okay, what would this look like for me? And then if you want a family, what does this. And then kind of family medicine seemed to be that thing where it was like, okay, I can actually do this. And I also had the opportunity to I was thinking about an OB fellowship. It was actually offered to me after residency. And I was like, I don't know. I think I found my joy here. I
Yes,
can
right?
pretty, yes. I can pretty much, decide how I want to structure the practice, right? Because then if you want to get procedure heavy, you have that option to do that in family medicine. If you still want to feel like you got some, surgical skills handy, you can actually do that. Like you can have your own little derm set up somewhere as a family medicine doctor. So I do see, kind of like I said, it's just kind of strange how, some of our paths mirror each other. But like I said, it's one of those things you look at, I'm like, okay, everything was just kind of divinely ordained, and you're glad to be where you are and thriving, because that's another thing too. Now, in this journey, now you've been practicing family medicine about 15 years, and at some point in time, you became a dating and a love coach for professional women. Most people would not put those two together. So what was kind of happening in your life? What happened that opened that door for you?
Great. I would think of, well, two things about it. First, my own lived experience. You know, having been developed, mentally in terms of academics is one thing, emotionally is a whole nother, right? And we spoke earlier about the experience of bullying in medicine. And what I wanted to touch on that, and this is going to tie in, like, how does bullying tie in with love? I'm going to tie, because a lot of us who got into medicine, like I said, we're the kids who are 5, 10, 15 years old who say we wanted to get into it. We breezed through school. Some of us have skipped years of school, right? So you have these kids who are book smart but emotionally immature. And then so they get into residency, they get into training, and you have these inappropriate jokes, inappropriate action, things that really come from immaturity. And you even have
Yeah.
our worst case doctors where they get, gross negligence, malpractice because they're acting immaturely, throwing
Yeah.
scalpels in the OR, right? Saying inappropriate things to patients, and that immature. So I say so when it came to dating, all the while in med school, I'm dating, in residency, I'm dating, and having these experiences, which if I had someone to kind of guide me, most of them could have been avoided. A
Yeah.
lot of growth could have happened. And to not bring them into adulthood. Yes, I have my degree. I'm, now my profession, but when it comes to dating, I'm still trying to figure this out. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the personal experience. And now when it comes with the professional, being being made aware that there are opportunities for me to do other things with my gifts and talents outside of being a physician. Being a physician gives me a platform, right?
Yeah.
I can speak to fellow physicians. I don't narrow to just physicians, although that's been a back and forth about narrowing my work to just them. Um, but there is a language I have when I talk to physicians who think about dating coaching versus those who are my professional women who are lawyers, execs. I've once talked to, police officer,
Yeah.
but being able to talk to this accomplished woman who again has her degrees, her accolades, her positions and titles, but when it comes to dating, there's still that 12, 13-year-old girl inside trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
and the running tapes, and I'm aging myself by saying tapes, but the running message in the background has been things she's been exposed to over the years through television, through music, through other people's relationships. So creating a space for them where it's like, hey, let's go back to the heart of it. Not like, who are you today? Not who you were then.
Yeah.
So then now when you approach dating, you're approaching it with your current you as a person now, your
Yeah.
current needs, so then you now attract a partner that's you're going to build a future with. not the partner your parents say you should have or society says you should have, but who's really the person for you. And for many people, and it ties into, psychology background, like who you're attracted to may not be the person you're really compatible with,
Yeah,
right?
true.
And
Yeah.
and so that being able to tease that out, and so that's where the space of dating coach. There are plenty of dating coaches out there, but like I said, what makes me stand out is being a physician, being married, because for some reason there are a lot of dating coaches out there who are not married. I don't know. I- I'm not bashing. I'm just
Yeah.
highlighting,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah. You're curious
Um,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, and then also another big part of my work is making sure we integrate the spiritual, because for a lot of women who profess faith in God or profess a spiritual background, for some reason when it comes to dating, that ends up being an afterthought. Oh yeah, yeah, let
Yeah.
me pray about it, but it's like a last minute resort thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus integrating from the beginning, being able to listen to your intuition, being able, I call intuition, God, Holy Spirit, being able to be settled enough to hear and to hear the answer. Because again, that gorgeous guy, you may want him, but he may not be the one for you. And you're blowing through every sign that says no. And then that quiet
Yeah.
guy or the quote corny guy might be the one.
Yeah.
And and so that's where having that safe space for them in creating this so that again, this area of life gets developed.
That is awesome. I mean, that is truly awesome what you do. And there's a lot of it that I can totally resonate with because even from a not even from an emotional standpoint, but there are certain aspects of physicians that are not completely mature, especially because like you said, there's a lot of time spent in the books. There's a lot of time spent in the learning of medicine. And then there's some parts of life that pass you by, and then you don't realize you're supposed to have learned all that. And then now you have the degree, you have all that, and you step on and you realize, oh, I wasn't prepared about this other side of my life. Like there's more to my life than medicine, right? It's even, if we look at our colleagues, so I mean, you did an undergrad. By the time you were finishing that, so then the people that just did that, psychology, then they were out in the real world. They were making real life decisions. They were, putting their resumes. They were buying houses. They were doing all those things, financial investments. Then you had to go into residency, right? Then you spend another 3 years. And then if you're doing fellowship, you're doing another 2 or 3 years of fellowship. So you're pursuing one thing, but then like I said, with everyone else in the quote unquote real world, they're living life. And so then you come out a certain way, it's like, oops, maybe I should like I don't have enough knowledge in this. Or I was too focused on this and I forgot to develop this other aspect of myself, which is a common thing that we see in doctors. So I can totally see how that for some people that emotional stunting happened. And I totally, I'm a person of faith, so I totally love how you talk about, that inner voice, that when the Holy Spirit guides you and getting some direction where you put that in front of you as opposed to behind you. Because sometimes, like I said, as professional women, you're kind of it's easy to avoid the red flags. And so it's totally amazing the work that you're doing, especially a professional woman. Now, I know you said, I mean, I can totally see it. Like it being an MD physician gives you that edge when it comes to the dating world. But for some other people, they might have seen it as, why are you here? Why, stay in your lane as a doctor. Like, what are you doing this? Like, focus on, did you ever get that where folks are like, yeah, what are you doing as an MD, as a doctor? Like, just do your doctor thing and leave the
Yes.
dating world to us.
Yes, not even from from dating people, but from other physicians. I've gotten it
Really?
from other physicians. I've gotten blowback from women who look like us
Yeah.
who I thought would be supportive. Um, well, I also at the same, to be fair to them, I also at the same time I was sharing with them a master class I was going to do, and it definitely ruffled feathers. Since our audience are physicians, the master class that ruffled their feathers was simply men do not care about your degree. That threw them in an uproar. They were like, well, for those who were married, they said, well, my
Yeah.
husband cares about my degree. And they were equating it with me telling them to hide who they are to be less
Yeah.
than.
Yeah.
It couldn't be further from that. What I was essentially getting to, and this, it was a thread in a Facebook group. several hundred comments. It went like wildfire. And at the end of it all, I said, "Hey, thanks for all the comments. Why don't you go check out this YouTube episode on the same topic since you guys didn't come to the masterclass?" And what in the heart of it, and I want to come back on the emotional immature because I know someone's gonna hear this and gonna say, "Well, I'm not emotionally mature." Like,
Yeah,
yes, okay. But I'm saying it's just one element of us, but the element of we're too busy to date, right? Or we're too focused on our books. There's always something there that we need that's out of balance. We need to bring in balance. But yeah, no, I haven't heard that from other dating coaches. I did have one who raised an eyebrow. I met her in a conference. She's already in this space of dating. Interestingly, I did not know her
yeah.
colors are pink for her branding. As you can tell, my back, well, this room was already pink before I got into dating coaching. Um, so I think she kind of raised an eyebrow about meeting me, like, oh, this is a doctor, a
Yeah,
doctor in this space. And she's been in this space for quite some time. Interestingly, that, yeah, I don't even know what her doctorate's in, but anyhow. But yeah, no, it was fellow physicians because again, back to the thing of we were 5, 10, 15, wanting to be doctors. We've sacrificed a lot. You
yeah,
know, we've sacrificed years of schooling, years of our lives, hundreds of thousands of dollars, missed family moments. So to tell someone, hey, when you now go out and date, this gentleman doesn't necessarily, um, care about your degree. They're like, well, then it makes them feel like,
yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah,
this has to count for something. It means something. And it absolutely does in the clinic, in the hospital, but
yeah,
outside of there, you're just Sally. You're just Susie. And
yeah.
that's okay. That means that you're still that same beautiful person that obtained that degree. And I think that's the hardest thing for us to tease, something I even struggle with at times, separating our identity from our our academics, our work.
Yeah.
And also, we happen to be in a field where we're constantly in academic settings. We have to get CME, maintenance and certificate, ABFM questions. Hello, I'm in that season now where I'm renewing my
Yeah.
certifications, right? So I'm doing questions every quarter versus the sit down exam. So we're not to, and not, and the CME and the license updates for the multiple licenses I have for different states. So we've never left school.
No,
We've never graduate. You know,
no.
that was first the allure and the marketing appeal of medicine. Oh, I get to keep learning. I get to be, but we never leave it. So no wonder it's part of our identity. No, when you have a doctor who's up 10 p.m. finishing her charts or coming in at 6 a.m. before rounds to read up on the patients in the hospital, no wonder it's tied to our identity,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
it is.
And so being able to put that down and decide, say, hey, I am more than that, and I'm a beautiful whole person beyond that, and to give them permission to expand it's a beautiful work. It's a beautiful work. It's a challenging work.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal is that we rebuild communities. As I like to say, building the Black community, building the African diaspora, one couple at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time. That's the big picture of what I'm doing, adding more love into the world.
That is amazing. That I mean, you touched a whole bunch of things in there, and we're going to go into the identity shift. Then that's kind of my next question. But how do you deal with that pushback, though? Like, how do you, like, of course, as a human, sometimes it must get to you, right? Because you're like, I thought they were going to support me. It's like, hey, she go girl. But if that's, how do you internally deal with that pushback?
I'm not like you said, we're human. I have feelings. I felt sad. I cried. I'm very in tune with my feelings. And and I didn't put that post to create. I knew it was controversial, but I didn't put it to step on toes because my ultimate thing, like I said, is to add more love into the world. There are enough people who are adding drama and housewives and hatred and wars. I'm not part of that. Like we said about our spiritual, it's a part of my work as a child of God, right? So I definitely had that emotion. What helped me also was being in community. I'm in business communities. And so one of my communities that happens to be local to, it's not local to Florida, but majority of us happen to be in Florida. I reached out to them. I was like, guys, so how do you
Yeah,
do when you have this kind of reaction? And
yeah,
one of them, who's a marketing expert, she was like, "This is great. You are getting attention, and people will pay attention before they pay money. So this
yeah.
is great, and they're
That
going to
is
be
a
watching and following." So having that perspective was great. Again, back to prayer and seeking guidance on that, and just learning like not to quit. You're not
Yeah,
going to get everybody who's going to agree with you. Same way when we have patients.
sure.
Patients won't always agree with the treatment plan you give. In fact, I've had patients say, I don't want dialysis. And they have capacity. And
Yeah,
it will save their life. So you have to accept those things. Of course, you process your feelings through it, um, and just keep going. I mean, I know there's going to be more. Again,
yeah.
when you're dealing with this, not to get too deep and spiritual, when you're dealing with the forces of good and evil, you're
There's
gonna
always
deal
going to
with
be opposition.
opposition. You're
Yeah,
gonna deal with
yeah,
it. But as I'm developing as a person, back to identity, I'm learning that I'm not alone in this. I don't have to be the victim or run and hide. Like, all right, let's go, let's fight, because I already know the fight's
yeah.
fixed.
That
I'm
is
gonna win.
awesome. So awesome to hear that. Well, I'm so glad I'm rooting you on. Now, one of the things you talk about is identity behind the white coat. And you did touch on it. And so many physicians to kind of just know themselves as doctors. And so when that is, true, something somehow that gets taken away from them, they feel like they have nothing left. So
hmm
how did you learn to separate Josya from Dr. Josya, the woman? Like how did that process come about for you?
I think it's a continuous process, because back to what I said, when you're spending hours in your training, you're constantly in training, or keeping your craft, right? You have to allow space in your calendar for other things that are not related to medicine, to develop the other parts of you. So
Yeah.
go out and play, go for a walk, go to the beach, play some music, have a dance party at home, call a friend, watch some comedy, doing other activities for the sake of doing it. In fact, one of my business coaches was saying, "Hey, go watch a rom-com." I mean, it was for business purposes,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
at least the idea of being in spaces of creativity, being in spaces of just nourishing all the parts of myself. We talk about as you know, and we've seen it in life coaching circles, that shows the 9 areas of life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So our career is one area, but fun
Mm,
is another area. Social capital, being, spending time with others. So to separate that identity, but also on a practical level, I tell people to do mirror work. Look at yourself in front of the mirror. Say, hey, I love you, Allie. Then talk to yourself. I think you're great. I think you are an amazing person. And tell you and those other qualities of you. One of the extras I have my clients do is to list down the things they like about themselves that has nothing to do with their career or the physical attributes.
yeah, yeah.
Right? Especially as
Sometimes as
women,
women, that
we've
can be
been.
hard. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? Because we've been groomed on our looks, and women are about their beauty and men are about the brains. That's kind of like our society thing. So when you sit back, like, who am I outside of my looks? Yeah. And outside of my degrees.
Yeah,
And that's that. And I love how someone shared it to me just last week. It's not work, inner work, it's awareness. That's a
yeah.
much lighter way of doing it. So creating that awareness, making it part of our everyday habits is how we separate the person from the career.
That is awesome. And that is something I so advocate for physicians to do. Because your work, like I said, is just one part of you. And you see physicians struggle a lot when at some point time, maybe they can't work, and so it's always one of those things. And you mentioned at the beginning of this that you were into music, the piano. So I'm hoping that that's something that you also do on the side, because there's a lot more to us as doctors than just being doctors. Like we have talents, and sometimes, like you said, the world is not friendly with us when we say, "Oh, I think I'm a comedian." I want to go into like, well, doctor is paying you enough money. Like, why are you coming to this space? And they have those ideas. Or I'm a musician, right? And then it's only when, quote unquote, that, they make it big. And that's when it's like,
Mm.
oh, okay, a doctor can actually be this. But I'm sure that that journey, that climb into exploring other aspects of themselves were initially not met with, a warm embrace. And I think back to, I think it was recently, there's this popular doctor who's on Instagram, and he decided to take a break. I think he's a neurosurgeon. He decided to take a break from medicine, and then came I think when they focus on content, and then came the whole backlash. It's like, how dare you? Like, what gives you the right to think that you can be something else outside of what you were trained to do? But I think he was already very aware of what he brought to the table outside of medicine, and he had was able to develop that. And so for him, he could afford to say, okay, I don't want a doctor for 6 months, and I'm still gonna be me. I'm still gonna enjoy my life outside of this. And like you said, we say it loosely, and this is the way the world will say it, but when you're from a spiritual standpoint, it's very different. But the world will say, "Do you?" The world will adjust, right? Where it's if there's something in you, something you're being called to do that you feel it's outside of what we call the traditional barriers of medicine, everyone may not embrace it. Everyone may not understand it, right? But at some point in time, everyone's living their life. Everyone's doing what they were called to do. And if something you're being called to do something outside of what is the traditional bound, something outside of what they would say your lane, just go ahead and do it. That fulfill that calling, fulfill that inner desire that has been, speaking to you. So thank you so much for being an example, right, of this, of saying, okay, there's more to me. I have a lot of love to give and to show people, to teach women about this. So thank you. Now, you, based on your journey, and you said something in your channel also that this was for the woman that heals for a living, but is now ready to heal herself. Was at any point in time, was that you? Did you feel like you were doing a lot in your professional life, but then it wasn't necessarily reflected in your personal?
Absolutely. As I started with um saying about becoming dating coaches, lived experience as well as, looking at it as from a professional angle. Yes, when I was in a long season of not loving myself, I accepted dates and romantic experiences with guys who were not good.
Yeah.
And that's a broad brushstroke and putting it nicely, without
Yeah.
getting too into the weeds of it.
Yeah.
But basically, being with guys who, shoot, one ended up going to jail. Another one I dated brought a gun to my apartment, not for me, but to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
he's a security guard, but to show like I'm macho, I have my gun, and I was like, what was I thinking? Allowing these kind of people in my life, and that's the true lowering of yourself, right? We're saying
Yeah.
we're saying early women are afraid of lessening them. That was the truly lowering of myself, lowering my standards and duties, looking for love in in outside places, looking for validation because it
Yeah.
wasn't built up in me,
Yeah.
right? Um, not not being in a place of agency, choosing to play the victim, right? Because it's a
Mhm.
choice. You
Yeah.
can be a victim and you can choose to stay in that state. And not making avail of resources to build myself up in that season. And this is the whole time like I said, I'm in medical school and in residency. Like I already have 2 degrees at this point. I have my bachelor's and my master's already. Okay. So here I am, all these years dealing with this to the point where one of the last guys I dated before I moved to Florida for my attending job was the janitor at the hospital where I was a resident. I laugh about I can laugh about it now, but it just shows you like when you are not healed and whole, what you'll
Yeah.
tolerate. And so I cannot come and say because there's this big thing, women talk about there's peanut eating pool. The men are said, no, are you tending to your pool? I even did a
Yeah.
visual maybe last year where I canceled my pool company and I said I'm gonna clean my pool myself. Like I said, I
Yeah.
live in Florida. Within like 2 weeks, the pool turned green because I wasn't tending to it.
Yeah.
I had to take
Yeah.
ownership. And so I say that to say to be in a place where you are healed, you have to take ownership. Own your poop or
Yeah.
S word, whatever, take your pick. Own it. Because when you own it, then you take your power back and you can change the narrative, you can change the future. You can't say,
Yeah.
well, he did this to me and he did that and so on. Yeah, he did, but you allowed it. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. But once they swallow that pill, that's when the healing can begin.
Oh, wow. So awesome. Now, I mean, you work with a lot of physicians, physician women, and I don't know if this is a myth, and you probably shed some light into this. Why do a lot of physicians struggle when it comes to receiving help?
Mm. We struggle when it comes to receiving help because of the culture of our training. When we ask questions, we're told, look it up. Or when a question is asked of us, we are not aware it's a Socratic method of teaching. So they're
Yeah.
not really asking us to ask us, they're using it to teach us or to
Yeah.
show the deficiencies that are there. So then you're usually, it may not be a full-on embarrassment, which definitely can happen and has happened in
Yeah.
medical school residency, but you get to a place where it's happened enough times where I'm not going to bother asking because someone's going to tell me to look it up.
Yeah.
So now you're in Facebook groups or online and you want to ask a question and people are snarky and snipe and rude. And again, this is happening among our own. We're cannibalists in our field
Yeah.
to the point
Yeah.
that now most people are posting anonymously to get help for a
True.
question because they don't want to be chewed out. So there's where that environment developed that response. So now we need to learn we're no longer in that environment and we can ask for help and also put ourselves around people who are going to be supportive, who are going to give us answers, who we can feel safe enough to ask for help. And sometimes that environment may not be among your colleagues if they haven't done that work, that
Yeah.
awareness work. So that's why we don't ask for help. We're used, and also prior to that, prior to the medical environment, if you were the eldest, the firstborn, the one who first to college, or the most successful, those around you couldn't help you because you're a
Yeah.
bit more advanced than them. It's like the thing now where the kids are learning the new multiplication, arithmetic, or whatever, and the parents can't help them because it's different. You're in a space where they cannot help you, so you had to
Yeah.
help yourself. So now the beauty is with technology, with space where you don't have to physically go somewhere, you can connect with others who are caring, who are kind, who are uplifting, who will be that safe space for you to say, hey, I need help. Oh, girl, I got you. If
Yeah.
I can't do it, let me connect you with so and so, and they're gonna help you out. And so being able to do that and know that makes you no less of a person. And even the resources that happen that exist for the lay people and just throw out examples. Alcoholics Anonymous, Suicide Helpline, Overeater, like all these resources that exist, right? And doctors like, oh no, I cannot. But we know there's like physician helplines, right? Because we do have physicians
Yeah.
of addiction issues,
Absolutely.
right? But to be able to be like, okay, I can go to these for help, and I don't have to tell them I'm a doctor. If that's what that's a bit of extreme, but to give yourself that safety and say it's okay to ask for help now. I'm no longer in that toxic environment that I was in before.
That is amazing. And one of the things that you said, which it's a common thread that I see with a lot of physicians that I interview, is that this journey, whatever journey they're on, in either discovering themselves, discovering their identity, exploring other aspects of their identity, they do not do it alone. They insert themselves in communities of like-minded people, people that, like you talked about your group, that who you had to go back when you got this such a huge pushback is like, hey, have my back, and they were there, and that kind of made you feel better, right? They gave you like, okay, I have this community behind me. And so it's one thing I always encourage physicians to do, to say, hey, you are really never alone. You may just think you are, but in the setting where now social media, there's so many connections that you can make, so many friendships you can build that will kind of, help you in your journey, where you discover like-minded people. Like I said, it's a common thread with a lot of physicians I interview that, hey, I didn't get here on my own. Like I had a whole community, I had a lot of support behind me, and that's the reason I'm standing today. So thank you for sharing. Now, for a woman, I mean, I'm guessing that a lot of your clients are female, right? And do you tend to talk to more men also, or just more female?
I tend to talk more to women, but I have had men reach out to me. I've even
Okay.
had one who is now a new intern in residency who was asking about dating advice. So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Now, for the woman who is listening to you who has struggled a lot with intimacy, with dating, and just at that point in time has given up and is like, look, I don't know that I really want to be loved. I really want to have that someone I'm intimate with, but I feel like it's going to cost me in my professional career. Like it's going to take something out of me to be out of vulnerable, put myself in this space. What would you tell them?
I will tell them it's okay to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable is your superpower.
Yeah.
And this is why I speak to professional women because we do, quote, have something to lose, quote, right?
Yeah.
Not even quote, we do.
Yeah.
And so when you are now going into dating, that's why we don't necessarily want to lead with that degree or our title. The great example, Coming to America, a great movie, right? He was a whole prince, there's gonna be a king. He
Yeah.
didn't lead with that. Obviously, in that movie, because it's comedy, it came out at an unplanned time.
Yeah.
But you want to be in a place where the person gets to know you for you and let it loose. It's okay,
Yeah.
girl. It's okay to put on that cute outfit and be out there. But I'm a doctor. What would they? Who cares? What will they think? Like honestly, you're not gonna end up on the 6 o'clock news. Let's be perfect. Unless you're doing something egregious, you're not gonna end up on the news.
Or Dateline.
Okay? Or on Dateline, right? You should never be on Dateline, okay? Or Inside Edition. You're fine. So
Yeah.
be just shake it out, put some music on, put some good perfume, go have fun. Be in that moment. Especially when you're going on that date, you're not going on the date to say, is this the man I'm gonna marry? Like, is this someone who can become my best friend? Take the
Yeah.
pressure off. Take
Yeah.
that pressure off yourself. And so then that gives you freedom for them to get to know you, for you to get to know. And maybe also you need to get to know yourself first. You've
Yeah.
lost yourself along the way, right? Because we're talking about identity shifts. We're talking about what could have changed. So maybe we need to work on spending time with yourself. Take yourself out on dates. That's something I talk about as well. Open your calendar and say, okay, um, for those who are say they're busy all the time, they have no time, make time. Get your Thursday count, pencil it out. Hey, on Thursdays I go on dates. If you don't have a date lined up with a guy, take yourself out. Just to kind of get out there, just to kind of get used to it and to nourish the other parts of you besides the doctor you, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and so that's going to help the women in it. And then when they do get to, meet someone and he gets the privilege to learn more about her, then she can, share that in time. I also believe also you should date more than one person at a time. That also takes pressure off. Because as you're
Yeah.
getting to talk to each person and spend time with them, you're not hanging everything on one person. And then the guy who's willing to pursue and lead, he's gonna step up at the right time.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for that valuable piece of information. I'm sure any woman listening here that's in that boat, I'm sure this is really helpful advice. So thank you. Now, what is next for you in this adventure that you're on and in this exploration, and where can our viewers find you?
All right, what is next for me? I'm actually working behind the scenes on a group coaching program to
Okay.
have community for women, a safe space, not a bitch fest, okay? A safe space for them to get together to support one another in love. And then I get to have impact with them versus just one-on-one. I as and then back to position and identity, I am also considering starting my own private practice on the side.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
you know,
Congratulations.
I still enjoy medicine.
Yeah.
It's just all about the balance of it. But that
Yeah.
may not necessarily be a big brouhaha launch. We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, that's the family medicine me wearing the different hats. But more importantly than those two is spending time with my boys. I have two sons. They're 4 and 1. They're gonna
Wow.
be 5 and 2 this year. So my oldest one's gonna start kindergarten. So I want to be there for the first day of school and for all the school events. They're my heart, and of course, my spending time with my husband. So
That is
yeah.
amazing. Well,
And in
thank you. I
terms of
mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, you just with what you said, I mean, you're pretty much being an example to say, hey, actually, you can have that balance. Like you can have a successful marriage, you can have be great at motherhood, you can and also have a wonderful career. Like you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. So with your experience, you're putting yourself out there, you're sharing your story, like you're giving women the visual to say, yes, this is actually possible. So thank you. So we're gonna hear where can they find you? Someone who's like, okay, I think I need
Yes.
to hear more about her. I think I need to see how she can help me. Where can they find you?
Sure. They can find me on all socials, Dr. Josya, DrJosya, drjosya.com. On YouTube, my YouTube channel, Dr. Josya. You can email me hello at drjosya.com. Shoot me a DM on IG, Facebook. I will hit you right back.
Awesome. And I will make sure to put all those links in the show notes. But it's been amazing having you here today, Dr. Joseph. You've been an amazing physician's keeper. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey. We're just excited to see, kind of where everything, takes leads you. I'll definitely keep my eyes on your social media posts to see like when you pivot into that private practice, how that goes for you. And one more, I mean, you said you have, okay, so you have 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So, just on a side note, I wrote a book, and I think this would be really great for your
I love
5-year-old.
it.
So, my book is titled Captain Cardio and the Heart Wrench. So, Captain Cardio is our superhero. He is the first in the series when it comes to Bodybuild League of Superheroes. But it's just a fun way to teach kids about the heart, but in a way that's not scary. Like the visuals where, I had a wonderful illustrator. They're stunning. It takes us to an adventure, and we have our villain. Of course, every hero has to have a villain. So our villain is Placky, and it tells us,
I
kind of
love
the
it.
adventure the showdown between Captain Cardio and Placky. But we have other amazing characters coming up along the way. Lieutenant Lung is going to be next on the journey. And then we have Nerve Ninja, we have the Bodyguard, we have Dr. Detox, we have Brain Boss, we have Skelly Squad, we have Regulation Rangers, Vision Patrol. Like there's a whole bunch of characters that we have coming up in Bodyville. So it's available now on Amazon. And so if yes, it'll be a great gift for your 5-year-old just to
Yes, I
introduce
think
him
I
into,
think I think he'll enjoy that more than Paw Patrol. I'm gonna get
yeah.
it for him. I'm like, no, he wants Paw Patrol and Spider-Man. I'm like, no, we're gonna take a break on those. We're gonna listen to We're gonna be Captain Cardio.
Yes, Captain Cardio for the win. And the goal is hopefully at some point in time, who knows, we may show up as as a cartoon, where kids can actually engage in like health, because that's primary care. One of the things that gets to me a lot is when I see adults, and it must happen to you, who are in their 40s and their 50s, and it's like their health, they're at that point where they just, their health has been so bad, and it's like you're trying to patch them, but you're like, did you not know? I mean, to protect your body before we got to here, like there's certain things you could have done differently, like if you had known better. So I feel like this, when it comes to preventive care, just information that's just basic, which a lot of adults actually kind of struggle with
I
too.
was actually thinking that, like when you put out the book, I'm like, that'll be great for some adults to read. And it's not as because what's annoying in medical literature to the everyday person is that it's so academic. I'm like, ugh, like even for me, I'm like, that's who wants to read that? But something like Captain Cardio, I think adults would definitely love that.
And it's funny because I had someone, put on a review on Amazon, and she was like, I actually bought this book for my granddaughter, but when I opened it, I was like, oh, she's like, and she said, I learned more from this book about my heart than in my 40 years of going to see the doctor, because I try to
Right.
explain what a heart attack is, right? It's like, okay, there's, something's blocking somewhere, which a lot of even adults, sometimes when you say someone had a heart attack, they cannot like picture what that looks like. So with this adventure, I'm hoping, like I said, that it just gives people a good idea of the things that happen in the heart. And with kids, they learn early on time. So thank you so much. Hopefully, if you'd like to leave me a review on Amazon,
Of course.
and I'll be looking out for it. But you've been an amazing host today, Dr. Josie. I'm so excited to have you here, and I know that anyone who's listening, this was amazing information for them. So if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is Physicians Keepers, and what we do, we interview amazing physicians like Dr. Josya, hear their stories, share their stories, and we know that every physician who heard this, if you're in this boat, you definitely do feel seen, supported through her story. So appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your week, wherever you're listening to. And Dr. Josya, like I said, I'll be looking forward to your many adventures. And I do know I caught on this while I was doing my research that you are speaking at the Boss Conference coming up this month. So rooting for you and hoping that everything goes well with that.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. This was an amazing time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Physicians Keepers. I hope today's conversation gave you something useful to carry into your life or practice. If it resonated, share it with another physician who might need it. And if you have a story that could help someone else, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media or send me an email. See you in the next episode.